Hey y'all, it's your boy Rody back with another video. It's overcast out, a little cloudy, you know, some sprinkles coming down, but either way, it's a good morning. Wearing my tech gear, so we're all set, protected from the weather. So last night I put out a video about manifestation, and unfortunately, when I had brought it to my girlfriend's attention, she had told me that I had left out very large parts of the subject, and that one of the main topics was intuition. As I said in the middle of the video, I think that intuition was very important, but we'll get to that later. I was saying like pure thought is like, important. So that's what I wanted to talk about this morning. When you're pure of thought, things become easier to understand because you take the time to understand it. And it's not so confusing when you're, just mixing your pot of thoughts and you're just trying to pick like what you should talk about, or what's going on, or what's trending, or so when you pick your thought, or because that's what it is, you choose thoughts come through, like the conscious realm, and you kind of just like, take one out and you hold on to it a little longer than some, because our brain doesn't stop. We constantly think. Shit, at least I do. I think all the time. I'm always thinking about something. So when you choose a thought, the one that's chosen is held on longer. You still have other thoughts going on in the back of your mind, and when those are running on autopilot, sometimes they're not always, rational thoughts, or they're not necessarily productive or practical. Sometimes they're just random things that you're thinking about, picturing a cat on the moon, or deep sea diving, or wanting to go on a nature walk. What your intuition is a small voice in the back of your mind. And when you bring that small voice to the front and you listen to it and you sift through, what else is being said. You know what? Let me rephrase that, because I think about it completely different now. Intuition is this very own thing. It's this very own little voice. But when you're thinking, those are like separate things as well. I feel like I can identify the intuitive voice much better now, because I recognize it. I know how it works and how much stronger it feels than just thinking. So when you're in a bad situation, like let's say you're probably at one of your first parties. You go to one of your first parties, all your friends are turning up, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to get down with it, and everyone's like, yo, here, have a drink, have some of this. And it's okay, have a couple of drinks, you know what I mean? Don't mix liquor or whatnot. At the same time, you gotta think about in the back of your mind that people might be putting stuff in your drink, so you gotta worry about that. But overall, your intuitive voice, which had already spoken prior to you going to the party, would have said, don't go to the party. Drinking is bad. Plain and simple. The intuitive voice speaks just like that. Like it's just like, if you ask, you don't even have to ask. You're like, your mind just knows what's right and what's wrong. You know, that's why like parents used to yell at you, you know right and wrong, like da 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 da. I don't understand why you keep doing these things. It's because excuse me, it's because of the ignorance of the intuitive voice. And not everybody understands that that's like a real thing. So when you start listening to that no, don't do this, that's not going to benefit you. It won't speak like that. It's much more direct, but you got to understand it immediately. No. You know, at least I'm speaking from my experience. Like with me, it's just flat out, it's blunt. Is this reasonable? And I'll get halfway through my sentence in my thought, and intuition's like no. Like just absolute flat out no. So in my last video, I spoke about how my girlfriend asked God first, you know, for like situational or like hard situations to deal with, or things that, you know, need some deep thought. She would ask God first. I was never brought up to do that, so that's not what I do. Unfortunately, I mean, I feel like I'd be in a different place if I was, or if I did, but we're all meant to be where we go, so send it. Anyway, the intuition is what some people would refer to as God's voice. You know, when God speaks to me, and this is my take on it. You know, there are other ways that people think about it, and not everybody may agree with that, but it's the correlation between how important the intuitive voice is compared to someone comparing it to the voice of God. You understand? I'm not saying you gotta think about it as that's God's voice or whatnot. That's you. That's you thinking about you. That's you thinking for you. That's your body subconsciously looking out for you, you know? When you ask a question and it says no. Or, you know, it's not like, you remember them little the little 8 balls? You could like shake them up and it would give you an answer. You'd be like, am I ever gonna get married? And you'd shake it up, and then you'd look at it and they'd say, definitely not. You'd say, I definitely want to get married. So you shake it up again, you know what I mean? The intuitive voice is not like that. So and that's what people do with it. It's like a multi question essay. Every time someone wants to do something irrational, I'm absolutely sure people really second guess what they do, you know, before they do it. And when they know it's wrong, they know that their intuition already spoke to them. It already said what it is. It already knows, like, you ain't finna go do that. You're not gonna go hit this lick, you know. You're not gonna go walk out of your job. You're not gonna go disrespect your parents. You know, you're not gonna go do this. But I'm just speaking about negative stuff. So let's do the flip side. Let's say that let's see how much time I got. Alright, so let's flip it to the other side. You wanna do positive things. I wanna motivate. I wanna be out there for people. I wanna teach. I want my knowledge to turn to wisdom. I want people to understand. I want to be patient. You can take those things and put them out there. So, and it's easier to do this and be happy than it is to give out that negativity and be trending with everybody else. So like, how do I explain this? So like, gossip, whack. Gossip is so whack. All that tea time, you know, like, of course, you know, ego sits me down and sometimes I will watch stuff like that. Like, I'm really not into celebrities or anything like that. But of course, because of how big and everything like that it is, you know, people go and watch it. So stuff like that, or what happens around, you know, the ghetto and stuff like that. All the gossip, who's doing this, who's got this car, who's with this person, you know, that type of shit is whack. No one, like, and everyone knows it. The sad thing is everyone knows it. You know, like, all that negativity, people subconsciously just understand that it's whack, but it's how everybody else is, so it's just subject matter. And it's just easy to pick out. Like, walk into the ghetto and start talking about Leafs, I guarantee somebody's gonna start saying, yo, but you still ain't smoking swishers. Like, oh, yo, you remember Keisha? Yo, she a, you know. But bring up something positive. Now, I'm not saying you'd have to, you know, maybe you didn't grow up in an environment like that. You know, maybe dad just wasn't home. You know what I'm saying? Or Jimmy went and took the car out and he's only 14 and he crashed it. Like, Jimmy's okay, but he did something wrong. Intuitively, he knew it was wrong, but he still went to go do it. It's human to be curious. It's human to ask questions. It's human to want to know what's on the other side. You know, people want to know what's on the other side. They haven't been down the street. They want to go down that street. At least that's how I was. Kids are the best example of curiosity and pure intuition. They don't, I mean, to be honest, they ain't even got to speak things into existence. That's why I'm making this video, because like, when you think something into existence, when you take that thought and initiate it consciously without even having to say it, like, it's even more powerful. Think about people who are mute, people who are deaf, people who can't talk, people without a tongue, people without vocal cords, you know, stuff like that. Is it possible for them to speak things into existence? Absolutely. But they have a different way that they got to do it, because obviously they can't be completely physical. So you take the metaphysical and you make it that way. I've seen amazing things by people who can't talk, you know, people who express themselves in a completely different way. There are people who can't speak that rap, you know, and then there's more like simple things that make it easy, like people paint and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is, like, even if you can't speak, the first thing you can at least do is think about it. You take the time to think about what's being said in your head. You know, figure you out first before you're trying to get anywhere else. Because like I said, like, how does a mute express him or herself? Or how do they express themselves? Well, they gotta do maybe like hand motions or something like that. And of course, people who are mute and deaf perhaps have a little more patience, because they know they're not understood. At the same time, I've seen people who are, you know, deaf, blind, and impaired, who are very impatient because they can't handle the situation. And I can understand that. It's severely frustrating. in any situation, it's possible to just take a second, take a breather, calm down, realize what's going on, and move further with a positive energy. You put that energy out there and it's positive, it's much likely more, you know, you're probably much more likely to get a better result, in essence, to what you want to happen or what you want. So you can try that. You can go home. I'm not saying go stand in the mirror and think real hard and start steaming out your ears. Nah, like what I was saying in the last video is you gotta pay attention to what you're thinking. You gotta look from up here to where your thoughts are, and your thoughts are constantly moving. They're like clouds in the sky. Well, clouds out here just cover the whole sky. It's kind of like my brain. It's just consistent thoughts, consistently moving. And you can take your eyes and look at what you're thinking, choose it, and then bring it back down and use it. And just remember not to lose it, because everybody feels like they got something to prove, right? Alright, I gotta wrap this up. Listen, it's your boy Rody. Take time, be patient, manifest with patience. Nothing happens overnight. Take your time. I'm not perfect. I don't know anybody else that is. I don't know anybody else that's perfect. Listen, take your time, manifest, think about your thoughts deeper than you thought you could think of. All right, it's your boy Rody. I'm out.